So, Father God, I just thank you for everyone here today, Lord. I just ask that you would prepare our hearts and minds today for what is to be shared, Lord. I just ask that you would just quiet our minds from distraction. And Lord, the thing that you are trying to get our attention in, Lord, the areas of our life that you want to shine your light on, Lord, the areas that you want to transform. We're here, Lord. Our hearts are surrendered to you this morning, and we lift up Judd, and we just ask that you would just speak through him, that you would just lead through him, Lord, and that you would create some just put us on a transition of transformation in this new year, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.
Amen.
It's
Well,
off
good
to
morning,
you.
everybody. Glad to be with you. And I just wanted to start by asking you a question. And the question is, have you ever felt that if you worked just a little bit harder, spend a little bit more time in the office, that it would allow you to, at some point in time, spend more time with your family and accomplish or do all the things that you've wanted to do personally? And my experience is that nearly everybody believes that fallacy. And that's the key that I want to talk about, the fallacy of it, that if we just work a little bit harder, and what I mean by working harder is if I just put an extra hour in, so instead of if everybody's working 8 hours, if I just work 9 hours, that's got to get me ahead. And then I will, at some point in time, be able to spend more time with my family and do the things that I want to do. And my experience, having worked with now thousands of employees, hundreds of companies, is that working longer, working harder, trying to go that little bit of an extra mile always comes at the expense of your family and at the expense of the things that you personally want to do, the lifestyle that you think that you're going to create. It never happens. And I've seen so many people where they've put, basically 20, 30 years into their career, giving everything they've got to the company they work for, and yet they really don't have the things that they want out of life. There's something always still missing. And uh, it led me to start asking the question, and that is, if we've cast out 20, 30, 40 years from today, and somebody were to come up to you and go, hey, you're looks like you're getting close to, the end of your life. Was your life a success? How would you have defined it? And I want you to just take a moment here and maybe put into the chat stream, you know, put in two or three things that you would say, this is how I would define success 20, 30, 40 years from now. So go ahead and put those in there right now, if you would. Your definition of success. So I see Nikki says having quality relationships. A lot of you are saying that you're doing something that God wants you to do, fulfilling your life purpose. And I want to give you a little bit of the backstory that started everything that I started doing. So in the mid 90s, I owned a company that converted paper to CD-ROM. We were on the cutting edge of document conversion services, and we were converting primarily government records, so school records to electronic format. And it was a pretty easy job. It's putting paper through a scanner, which is kind of like running a photocopier. And so it was not a high-paying job. We had over 100 employees. We worked 24/7. And I learned that people would leave me if somebody else offered them 10 cents an hour more. Literally, literally 10 cents. If I was paying them $10 an hour, this was in the 90s, and somebody offered them $10.10, boom, they're gone. And it was painful. And I started to study everything that I could find on how do you attract, and more importantly, how do you retain employees? And came across study after study that listed out the things that people want most. And it wasn't just the things that people want most in the workplace. It was, what do people want most in life? And I quickly looked at that and said, wow, this looks like an important list, but I want to go over that list with you right now. And I'm going to share my screen here a little bit if I can find the right key. Stand by just one second. You guys can you can see that now. The
Yes.
Yes.
great. The number one thing that people wanted in the workplace was to have a great relationship with the people they worked with. They wanted to enjoy the people they worked with. And it wasn't just their fellow employees. They wanted to enjoy their customers. They wanted to enjoy their vendors. They wanted to enjoy literally everybody that they came in contact with. The second thing they wanted was to fulfill a purpose. They wanted to use the gifts, the talents, the skills that they had to produce something of value for the company, so that when they worked for 7 or 8 hours or 9 hours in a day, they could go, hey, I use what I'm good at doing, and I created something of value for the organization. The third thing they wanted was core values, or I call them rules. They wanted to know they worked for an organization that at least lived up to the laws of the land, but maybe even was missional at its purpose, at its foundation and its basis. The fourth thing they wanted was recognition for the job they did. So at the end of the day, they wanted people to say, I see Matt's on my screen. Matt, you did a great job today. Thanks for coming in. Awesome what you accomplished. And fifth was money. And it was in that order. Isn't it interesting that money is last on the list and wanting to enjoy the experience was first on the list? And here's what I've learned again over the years, that as we strive to make more money, and by the way, nearly everybody uses money as the measuring stick for how they're doing. And yet it's fifth on the list. But as we strive to make more money, it always comes at the expense of relationships. Isn't it interesting that we're striving to make more money, number 5 on the list, and it's coming at the expense of number 1 on the list? And so the question became, is it possible to create this where now the money that we're striving for doesn't have to come at the expense of the relationships, but they could be equal in value? And what I want to give you today, and it's one of the easiest equations that I've ever seen, and it took me 25 years to land on it, but I promise you, and I really want some feedback on this. I believe that if you do the 3 things that I'm about to show you, you don't need to talk to anybody ever again. You don't need to go through any courses. You don't need to do anything with us. If you just do these 3 things, I believe you're going to set yourself apart from the competition, from everybody else, and you're going to accomplish what you hope to accomplish in 30, 40 years from now in terms of defining success. And here it is. If you do everything that you're supposed to be doing at a level of excellence that's unsurpassed, meaning that you don't let anybody do your job better than you do it. So excellence. If you do that while at the same time creating an experience where people leave you and go, again, Matt's on my screen, so I'm going to use Matt as my example. If people go, I was working with Matt today, and Matt just knows everything that there is to know about his job. In fact, I don't know that I've ever met anybody that does that line of work, that particular job, better than Matt. It's just amazing how good he is at it. But I can't decide whether it's more fun just to be around Matt because he's such an enjoyable guy to be around, or whether he does his job better. We want those things to be equal so that people are leaving going, not only is it great to work with Matt, he's an exceptional guy, just and totally enjoy that when they look at their calendar in the morning, they go, oh man, I got a meeting with Matt today. They're going to go, I love meeting with Matt. Matt is absolutely one of my favorite people to meet with, and he does his job really well. And we've balanced this. So this is a teeter-totter. We've balanced this over a third thing, and that is the rules. And we agree we're never going to lie, cheat, or steal. It's just that simple. What if you use this equation? In fact, think about you're going to hire somebody, and they're coming, and you put uh, advertisements out on social media everywhere that you're looking for a position to be filled, and you had 25 people apply for the position, and one person shows up and says to you, hey, I just want to let you know that I've gone through this goals program, and they taught me something that I'll never forget. I believe that I'm going to be your best hire by far. Let me tell you why. In everything that I do, I promise you that I'm going to do it to a level of excellence that's unsurpassed. Nobody that you hire will be able to do that job better than I do it. It's one of my number one goals. Number two, I promise you that every single person that I come in contact with, customer, vendor, fellow employee, they're going to have a great experience. I'm deliberate about creating a great experience, and I promise you I'll never lie, cheat, or steal. If you had somebody that came to you and said, hey, I want this job, I believe I'm going to be your best hire for that reason, I believe they moved to number one on the list. And they set themselves apart from the other 20 some people by a mile because nobody does those three things. Most organizations focus on this one, and that is doing work at a pretty high level of excellence, and they are relative in this one. If we're just a little bit more honest than the people next to us, think about car dealer. You know, what would happen if you went to a car dealership and they said, hey, we're going to make sure that we do our job to a level of excellence that's unsurpassed. We don't want anybody to do better than we are at being able to put you in the car that you're interested in, but we're going to create a great experience for you. And that every time you come, you're going to go, man, I just love the people at that dealership. But we promise we will never lie, cheat, or steal. And that's the one that's going to be the crux, because nearly every car dealer, we don't believe that lying, cheating, or stealing is in their top priority. We think that almost all car dealers lie, cheat, and steal. But if we were there and we thought, you know what, if they actually tried and did their best to do that, and we actually saw that they were doing that, wouldn't they set themselves apart from everybody else? The answer is absolutely. The problem is that when we think about those three things, doing it to a level of excellence, creating a great experience, and never lying, cheating, or stealing, it not only applies in the work part of our life, but it applies in nine other areas. It applies in our marriage. What if you made it your goal, if you're married, that in the relationship that you have that's closest to you, over the course of the next 12 months, you're going to do it at a level of excellence that is unsurpassed, create a great experience so that whenever you're with your spouse or significant other, they're going, man, I just love being around my husband or my wife. And you never lie, cheat, or steal. What if you did that in every relationship? And we have 10 relationships in our life. We have a relationship with our spouse, as I just said. We have a relationship with ourselves. If we're not in good physical, mental, emotional condition and taking care of ourselves, where to the extent that we're not operating our own bodies at a level of excellence, things are going to go sideways. And the experience, what kind of an experience am I having myself? And if we're not in a good frame of mind, I promise you nobody around you is going to be in a good frame of mind. And are you being honest with yourself to the extent you're going, I will never lie, cheat, or steal at anything that I do? And then you do that with your family, then you do it with your friends. For those of you that have a relationship with God, you do that with God. Then you do it with society, with church, at work. We already talked about the only one that's an inanimate object is money. And it's the one place that's an inanimate object that we do have a relationship with. But what if you said, you know what? I want to have that relationship and make sure that it's in check, and that I treat money in a way where uh, I'm investing it properly. My management of money is at a level of excellence that's unsurpassed. And we also have a relationship with enemies. If any of you have been divorced, often our ex is at some point in time really an enemy. But we can have people that we don't get along with or like or have hurt us, and they can cause us strife throughout the day. But what if we said in every one of these relationships, we're going to orchestrate them in a way that is absolutely in every circumstance leading to excellence in that area with a great experience for everybody involved, and we never lie, cheat, or steal. Is this making sense so far? And do you believe that if you actually did those things, that things would go differently? The answer is unequivocally yes. But what if you said, hey, the goal of this next year is not only to strive in each of those areas to do that, but what if we said that our goal was to get each one of these to a 9.5 on a 10 scale, and that I want to get my marriage to a 9.5. I want to get myself in terms of physical condition, emotional, mental condition to a 9.5. I want to make sure that my family is at a 9.5. In every one of those, if you did that, things are going to go dramatically different. And here's why this makes the most sense. If we look at those top 5 things that everybody said was most important in the workplace, and one thing that you might be saying right now is, hey, Judd, you looked at that study in the mid 90s. We're almost 30 years later. Are they still valid? Well, the longest running study by any university in history is by Harvard University, and it's the study of adult development, where they've asked the question for over 80 years now. It was one of the studies that I looked at back in the mid 90s, and that same study is still in play today. They're still running the study. And the study basically asks, what do people want? What brings happiness? What brings people success? Interestingly, the top 10 items on their list are all relationship driven. Now you might go, okay, well that's just one study, and that's done by Harvard, probably done mostly in the United States. I'd point you to the Boston Consulting Group, who basically did the same study worldwide, 189 countries, over 200,000 people, all cultures, all religions. And if you looked at that study, you would find, wow, it's still almost exactly this same list. Number one on the list, people want to have a great experience. They want to get along with people. We are relational beings. They want to leave every circumstance going, man, that was a great interaction. Second, we want to fulfill a purpose of some kind. That's where this comes into play. Third, we want to apply rules. If you were to look at this, you would find that these two right here are completely about the first two right there. And that third one of rules is basically right there. The reason this makes the most sense is that every culture, every person worldwide, we want to live with core values of never lying, cheating, or stealing. And finally, we want to live relational. If we focus on the top 3 most important things, finding great relationships and enjoying the experience, living with purpose, and never lying, cheating, or stealing, isn't it interesting that every organization that we've ever worked with that have said, hey, we're working to earn more money, they always make more money. In fact, if you worked with a company that said, this is our goal right there, don't you already believe they're going to be the best at what they do? They're going to be the most successful. And if they're the best and the most successful, aren't they going to make the most money? It's just changing the priority. And so the my strongest recommendation to each one of you is hopefully you took a picture of that, or you could just write it down. Hey, in everything that I do, I'm going to do it to a level of excellence that's unsurpassed. Can you leave every single day from your office and go, you know what? I think I did the job today at a level of excellence that was unsurpassed. Second, I was deliberate and intentional about creating a great experience. And I want to give you the key to how this works. You have to define it. So if we're thinking about, and by the way, we work through over the course of a year, each of those 10 relationships by the month. The month of January, we're in that month is the month of marriage. And so in every January, we work with companies or individuals and go, hey, we're going to work on the most important relationship to you. If you're married, that would be your marriage, maybe a significant other, maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend. But in that relationship, let's work on getting it to a 9.5, and you have to define it. Great. What does excellence look like? Get with your spouse later today or tonight and go, if we were going to have a marriage that's excellent or relationships that is absolutely excellent, what does that look like? What are the 3 or 4 most important things in our relationship that would cause me to say it's operating at a level of excellence? Translate that now to your customer. I promise you, every one of your customers, they have in their mind what excellence looks like in terms of whatever you do with them. If you're selling their home, they're going to, and you said, hey, if this were going to be, if I were going to do this at a level of excellence, it's unsurpassed, what does that look like to you? Too often we define it for them. If you define for your spouse what excellence looks like, I promise you that we are not thinking on the same wavelength. Guys think different from girls, and what you think is excellent is probably going to be opposite of what they think excellent is going to be. We guess at what they want when it's not really what they want. Why not just ask them? So first, define it. The experience. Hey, if we were going to create, if every time you worked with me, it was, I want, my goal was to create an amazing experience. What would that look like? What are 2 or 3 things that I could do where you'd leave every time going, you know, um, Joey or Nikki or Ryan, and it's so delightful to work with them. What would cause you to say it's so delightful? And then how can I make sure that we never lie, cheat, or steal? What are something that I can do that in our industry, in the line of work that I do, sometimes people think that we cross over that line of rules. What are some things that I could do to make sure that we're being deliberate about that? And again, the when you look at this picture right here, most organizations, most people do 1 or 2 of these, and typically these 2. They try and do work at a high level of excellence. They try and follow rules, but they have no idea how to create an experience in the relationship piece. And yet it's #1 on the list. When we start to put all 3 of those as top priorities and make all of them values, it changes everything. So hopefully, this is something you'll remember. Any questions from anybody? It was that good. You just got
No,
it
that's
right.
good. Sometimes we give some time to think. I really love thank you, Jed, for being here. This was really great with your experience. You know what I mean? You working with 1,000 employees, it carries so much weight, like 100 different companies. And I would do exercise like, hey, rate this. But I love what you said, like you gotta define that. And if you're working with even with your marriage, like my definition of of happiness is different. And he may be happy, but I'm not, because I'm probably doing the things that he likes, and then but I'm lacking in somewhere that he's not fulfilling. So I
Yeah,
think that is really huge, that we do have to define it. What does that look like for not only your marriage, for different type of relationship that you want to bring it to like a 9 or a 10. So this really helps me, like, factor in, like, always, like, what does that look like? What are some of the
yeah,
things that make it 3 or 4 items that make it a 95? So I really like that, because sometimes we're just like, oh, rate it, instead of define it.
yeah. So if you're interested, Joey can get this to you, but we help people define it. So rather than being subjective, where I say, "Hey, Nikki, what's your number?" and you go, "Oh, I'm at an 8," and then if you're married, ask your husband what's his number, and he's like, "Well, I'm at a 4." Well, what's that based on? What did you use to define 8? And so we make it empirical, where we give you every month about 10 questions, and they're the key areas of that relationship where you can say, and it's very empirical, I do this all the time, I do this a little bit, or I don't do it at all. And by going through the questions, then you're at least answering the same questions and coming up with the same score with the other person. And it helps you go, oh, okay, I see you're at this number, I'm at that number. Now, how do we define it? So that, I see your number in this one area is a little bit lower than mine. If that were to move to excellent and get it up to a 9 or a 10, what would that look like? And if you look at statistics on divorce, so many divorces end because they say lack of communication, and they never sit down and discuss, well, what would have made you happy? What was it you were looking for? And more importantly, how would I do that? And you know, when you get down to that level, things change. In the work arena, when everybody agrees, these are the 3 or 4 most important things for us as an organization that we're going to do that will help us. And you get everybody in the organization working on those top 3 or 4 most important things, we're going to make stuff happen. Without that, people are working on what's most fun and easiest for them, not what's most important. And unless we can define what's important, we're going to work on what's most fun and easiest for me. We do the same thing in our relationships. In your marriage, you're going to work on what's most fun and easiest for you, but it could be number 10 on order of importance to your spouse instead of number 1. So
So good. I think those questions, or people, anyone who's taking like a marriage or planning to get married, I think that's such a key, like what you said, question or course that would really help people. I
yeah,
feel like that's really
yeah. So I want to give you just one other piece. And if you, Joey, do we have 10 more or another minute? Joey, are you there?
yeah, Joey.
Yeah, yes, you do have time. Absolutely.
Well, a lot of yeah, we're good sometimes.
Right. So
You're good.
I want to give you, and I always save this to the end and say, look, let me give you the reasoning behind why this works. And this is an optional part. People don't have to listen to this if they don't want to. But a number of you said in when I said what will bring you success in life, and a number of you related that to God. The reason that this program works, in my opinion, is that it fulfills the 2 most important things to God. If you have read the Bible ever, and if you were to say, hey, what's the most important thing to God? That question was actually asked. So in Matthew, um, there's a group of people that ask Jesus Christ, hey, what's the most important commandment? I.e., what's the most important thing that God told to man? And he said, I'll tell you, the most important thing is to love the Lord with all of your heart, your mind, your soul, and your strength. If you did a quick study just from a biblical perspective and said, how do we love the Lord? We love the Lord by obeying his commands. It tells us that throughout the Bible. This picture, this piece on that right there of rules, never lying, cheating, or stealing. Hang on, I got to get my pen working again. Never lying, cheating, or stealing is basically we're following the commands. So for some reason my pen stopped. But if we look down here at the rules, never lie, cheat, or steal, those are 3 of the commandments. We're doing the most important thing to God by saying, I'll never lie, cheat, or steal. I'm going to pay attention to the commands. Then they ask him, what's the second most important thing? And he said to love your neighbor as yourself. So I could very easily sum up the entirety of the Bible that basically says we're supposed to love God. We can do that by obeying his commands, and we're supposed to love people. Those are the 2 most important things. And if you were to go through and really do a study, you would find that these 2 things here, creating a great experience and doing your job to a level of excellence, is how we love people. And I would give you a pathway on where that came from. If we're doing the 2 most important things to God, how's life going to go? Okay, so you tell me, look, I'm not a Christian. I don't believe in the Bible or God. No problem. How is it that 189 countries, 200 plus thousand people worldwide, all cultures, all religions, still want these top 3 things? And this model here accomplishes those top 3 things that everybody wants worldwide. Folks, it's a simple equation, and that is from today forward, if you make it your purpose, your intent, and you become deliberate about making sure that whatever you do, nobody does it better than you do, that you're intentional about creating a great experience. My next meeting is with this person. How am I going to create a great experience for that person? And number 3, I'm going to be deliberate about never lying, cheating, or stealing. I'm not going to do anything that even comes close to questionable. If you do those 3 things, you already know what's going to happen. 2025 is going to be your best year yet. Because the majority, and I mean the greater majority, 99% of the population are not focusing on these 3 things. They might be doing it relatively, but they're not doing it, and especially not number 1, because their intent is making more money, not creating a great experience. So there's the last piece on why this works. Again, whether you believe in God and the Bible it doesn't matter. It meets the needs of everybody worldwide, all cultures, all religions. So, Joey, thanks for having me. Any other questions from anybody?
Adam Bureau text on the chat said, how long did it take you to develop this again?
So I started in the mid 90s. This in 2024, we reached the millionth person that had heard the program. We've taught it at Google, at Apple, at FedEx. So we've taught it at the largest corporations in the world. And this year, I tell people we're a 25-year overnight success. This year, I think we are going to probably triple the number of people that are going to hear about the program and hit 3 or 4 million people.
Wow, Judd, thanks. I've heard this, Judd, as we spent over a year and a half going through the program with you. And every time I hear it, it just reinstills more and more of it. And guys, Judd's company is impacting the world. I mean, there's people there. This is being preached over the airwaves. And so if you want to know more about getting connected to what we're doing, just shoot me a message. I'd love to share a little bit more. But Judd, thank you again for your life's work, my friend. I mean, really, truly, when I explain what I've learned from you, I explain it as a framework to do things excellent while being an example, which paves the way for discipleship and talking about the Lord. I mean, it's a great framework that is, and it's simple to work through. So thank you, Judd, for everything. Thank you for all that you do, my friend.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
This is just a question on the chat. Kevin asked, I know it's just a tool that you're using, Judd. He said, what's the type of tool that you're using? He wanted to ask the brand.
What's the what?
What's the brand that you're using for your handwriting tools that you were showing us?
Oh yeah. So this is Ecamm. So ECAMM. Ecamm Live is the software that I'm using, and then OneNote is what I'm using on the iPad. So you can convert any document into a PDF, drop it into OneNote, and then it allows you, and it saves permanently everything that I've drawn on there. So OneNote is the software, and then I use a dual camera. So the you can see me here with the iPad. So that's Ecamm is what's showing you the screen here, and then I use the downward camera. So I have 2 cameras running.
I really like that. I really like that. Oh, and Judd, Matt has a question.
Not really a question. I just wanted to thank you personally, because I've been struggling to really figure out these filters that I kind of run my thoughts through before I interact with people, because I'm in sales and do a lot of business stuff, and it's all relationship based, and trying to keep my principles and my spiritual values front of mind. And you've really nailed it. I mean, you've got everything so perfected and so refined down to truly the key points. I just wanted to thank you. I really appreciate all the work you put in, and I got a ton of value out of this morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. The one last piece. Here's my hope. Because this is biblical at its basis, if you are a Christian, what's going to happen is this: you start deploying these 3 things, you start living them out to the best of your ability, and somebody's going to come along and go, "Hey, Matt, you're different from most people. What I can't describe, or I can't put my finger on what it is." And that's when you could chime in and go, "Oh, I think I know what it is." In everything that I do, I've learned to do it at a level of excellence that's unsurpassed, to create a great experience, and to never lie, cheat, or steal. And I do that because I have faith. I'm a Christian, and I believe that God's calling me to do those 3 things. And my experience has been, when I do those to the best of my ability, things go better. And that's all you have to say. And they're going to start going, great, Matt, let's spend 5 minutes talking about the sale, and let's spend 55 minutes talking about tell me more about this faith that you have, because it certainly set you apart. And you're going to find that when you do the best of your ability to deploy those 3 things, and you understand that it's that's the key 2 words, so that people will ask you what it's about, and then you have the ability to say, it's because of my faith, When you grasp that model, God will put an unending stream of people in front of you, knowing now I can trust my boy Matt, that whenever I put somebody in front of him, he's going to do an amazing job, create a great experience, never lie, cheat, or steal. And they're going to ask him, and he's going to be able to tell them in a way that they can understand about me. And that's the beginning of the relationship. Now we really have purpose, because no matter what your job is, no matter what the widget is or the service that you're providing, it's just a venue that God's given you to be able to advance the kingdom. So
Awesome.
that's where real purpose comes in. So
Surreal, thank you so much, Judd. There is a question that came in from Surreal. She says, so the takeaway is don't work harder and longer, just do each next task with excellent morals and with intention to create a good experience. In this case, do you end up needing to do less work because you attract the best clients?
yeah, so let me tell you about Google. So Google called me, and their internal security department, so cybersecurity. I don't know if you know much about Google, but they'll provide everything that you need to live within the facility. So they'll do your laundry, they'll watch your kids, they provide all the meals that you want. You can sleep there, shower there. You don't need to go home. And because of that, people work 18 hours at Google and then stay overnight. And so I'm talking to their entire security team. And when I described this, their first question to their boss, who was in charge of cybersecurity, they said, can we do this? We're all of us, our marriages are all on the rocks. Our kids don't know us. We're basically giving our life to this company, and it's become disastrous. Can we do this? And what they would find is that when people are deliberate about doing this, you can do an amazing job in 8 hours or less. You don't need to be there for 18 hours. And you'll accomplish everything that you need to accomplish because you're working on the 3 or 4 most important things, not a whole myriad of things. And when you become more balanced, and your family's doing great, your kids are doing great, your marriage is doing great, your personal life and health is doing great. When every one of those 10 areas are doing great, you're going to do far more than ever expected, and that you ever could before. So that's why I say it's a fallacy that if you spend an hour more, which turns into 2, and then it turns into 8 more hours, that you're going to actually get ahead. The opposite is true. Do it well, and it's going to go better.
Yeah. You kind of think like why they do that, like Google and Facebook went to that type of model because those are, removing all the hindrance and creating that relationship. It's just so smart.
Yep. So any other questions? Great. Well, hey, it was my pleasure to be with you today. I hope this gives you something to think about. I hope that you apply it in your lives. January is our marriage month. Do this with your marriage, and I'll look forward to hearing back maybe through Joey that you've deployed some of these things and it moved the needle for each of you in terms of success in your life. Last thought, if you get to 90 to 100 years old and somebody asks you, we're successful, if you can go back through those 10 relationships and you go, you know what, in every one of those 10, I think I had it at a 9 or a 9.5, I think you're going to say you're successful. And by the way, it doesn't matter how much money you made. It's about who were the people that you connected with that had a great experience. So there you have it. See you guys.
Awesome. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Judd. Appreciate
Yep.
you.
You bet. See you later.
So much. So good.